For good transitions, it's really important how you connect the parts, and I will show you today a few techniques how you can glue them better together. If you aren't already a subscriber of this channel, then hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. So let's look a bit into the transitions from block to block and how you can make your own transition elements. So when I'm speaking of a block, usually music is organized in 16 bars blocks. So you can see it's 16 bars from here to here. And then we usually have some smaller or bigger breaks, which then go into the next block. And to make the next block appearing more smoothly, maybe you have noticed this in a lot of Psytrance tracks, that you don't really feel where the one thing ends and the other thing starts sometimes. And you can reach that by creating your own transition elements. And it's like really easy. And you can do this for your kick and bass or for your bass more. You can do this for drums and you can do this for leads, and that way you can glue the track and make it more coherent. So for our, let's start with the drums because it's super easy on the drums, and we'll get a little bit more complex on the leads later and on the bass. But what I want to show you here is, so for example, we have here a new build-up of kick and bass, and then we go here into the next block. We'll play quickly. Let's ignore for now that we have already the closed hi-hats playing here. But one thing you can do basically is that you take your drums, you will just solo them, you turn off the crash, and kind of like those impact things which come only in the beginning here. So you want to have your full groove playing, and then we gonna just take a section where we are sure that we have all our repetition in. I think I went for like quite narrow patterns here, but or you can even take the whole block. And then you will hit Command-Shift-R for exporting. And then we will export this 16 bars of drums. As we have soloed them, we should just hear those. We go 24 bits, no dethering. And usually I'll leave the normalize here off, and then we will export this. And I do export this into a special export folder. That way I'm sure that all my samples are in here, but you could also take the samples folder or whatever folder you like, as long as you have some organization. And I will call this full drum groove. And once we have exported this, we can go back and put those on again, remove the solo, and we will use a new channel here. We have now a full drum groove from here, but we bring that here. It already has the right amount of loudness, so that's why I didn't go for the normalize here. And then depending on what your break is here, so let's listen one more time again how the transition is. As you noticed, here comes then the fill. So I would stop here. And as our drum groove already stops here, we can just go like this. And then we will take an EQ. And we will fully open this. So when we're here, it's closed. When we're here, it's open. And here we can do basically the same. But maybe we are starting a little bit earlier, so that we're here. I want to have it audible somewhere here. So let's listen to this. something like this. It doesn't matter that you don't really hear it here. You could also cut it, but I tend to leave this here, or you could go also and give it a small fade to be sure. Actually, you don't want to have it here, but you also don't want to have it like appearing here super suddenly, because then it's quite noticeable. You really want to have it sneaking in. I also need to check if I already have something like that. Yeah, I have here a snare loop. Yeah, as you can see, actually, I have this kind of element here with the snare done. So I will deactivate this, that you really can only listen to this element. I do this a lot when I go from like not much groove to a lot of groove elements. This makes it way more smoother. And that way we introduced the drum groove, which is coming later, already a little bit before. If you want to push it, what you can also do is you can go here into the span and check the level, and then increase the output gain a little bit in the EQ if you want to have it a little bit more noticeable. So in the end, you want to end here at 0 again, but let's say we wanted to have it like audible here, and maybe it's a bit weak, then we could go something like this, and you just check the curve that you don't exceed the limit. So what I mean is, if I play here, so if you want to have it a little bit earlier, then maybe go like this. But you need to be careful that you don't get that feeling that it moves down. Actually, in this case, I liked it the other way more, but you give some tries and you decide yourself what you like more. That's one thing you can do to increase this. And usually what I also do is, I have here a short reverb in one cent, is that even if I give the cut here, that I wet this, that it doesn't go so abrupt. Like, look for that. I mean, sometimes you may even want that, so to make it like more extreme, but in that case, I think it could be nice to wet it. So that said, we have created a pre-rising for our drums. And the same thing you can also do for the bass, for closing that small gap here. So we'll go into the bass patch, because this already bounced to audio, and we will open Serum. And at the moment we have that kind of like bass plug from the bass note. So this bass is in A. And we want to avoid that kind of like falling here in the amplitude. So we will put this to full. But we still have the falling here. So we will also increase this. Exactly, that's what we're looking for. And I have another plug here. Something like that. Maybe we can leave a little. Because otherwise it goes wide open. And then we will do the same thing. We will take this here, Command-Shift-R, and then we will bounce it. And we can use this to kind of like close the gap in some points. In that case, I probably wouldn't use it because the gap is not very large and we want to have that breathing in here. But sometimes you go for bigger gaps, like maybe like 2 or 4 bars, and then it can be nice to introduce that element here. So let's take this. You can place it like that here, and then we just fade it. And then we have kind of like a bass riser, or this can be also nice if you put it maybe in between or something. You can be very creative with that one. So let's play. So that's a cool element to kind of like announce the bass. Then we had an element to announce the drums. We are starting the next edition of the Psytrance Academy soon. If you want to bring your musical game to the next level and you want to get notified on the first discounted tickets, then drop me an email. My email is in the description box below. And you can also do this with leads. As you can see, I already have here bounced some pads out of this 303 lead. So let's find that really quickly where it is. I have it here. So that's the lead. As you can see, I filtered in here as well. So in that case, I use the pads more somewhere else in the track as atmospheres, but I will show you in a second how you could use this to announce this also in a different way. So this is the lead. And those are the pads I put out. So those two are, I think, only with just a lot of reverb. It's basically the same melody and everything. And this one, I think, is a long shot of one note from the synth. So it doesn't have that melodic character. And I think something like that could be nice to announce it. So let's assume I wouldn't filter it in here. So we'll remove this for a while. And we drop straight here. Then we could use this pad here to kind of like announce the flavor of it. We want to go to the highest point here where we have the maximum volume. So we're here. And then we bring it here because I think there's some breathing here. It's like a 1 bar breathing here again. And we will take that as well. And then we fade it in. And then we have announced our element in the block before already. And the same as with the drums I explained before, you can give some small reverb here to make it not so abrupt. I think this is not very loud, so I probably would boost it a bit in volume as well. Let's check it. Maybe we could boost it like 2 dBs. Could add some compression maybe to make it a little bit more present. Something like that. Put it more in the background, make it softer. And one more thing here is, just quickly cut it like this, that we have it straight. It's also very short. I would probably either like bounce a longer section, but because I have not here, it is all quite short shots. You could also try to warp it a little bit to make it like longer that way. Can be also cool if you gate it then. So if we, for example, go here on 16th and then we gate it a little bit. And then we will play this. And it's the same as with the bass. So if you want to get like those kind of like shots, you want to go into the patch, and we will deactivate. For example, this looks to me like it's the ARP. Yeah, it's modulating coarse pitch here. So we will bypass this. That's also modulating this bypass, this bypassed. And then we will also go here in the envelopes a bit, and we could, for example, increase our decay time. With Option Shift, you can make it that it only modulates in this side. And now we should be able to play a really long shot. So maybe we would also want to remove that filter movement here. Let's check what we all... Oh, that's already... Let's bypass everything for now. We have some gating in here. We also remove that. Maybe we can check if we can put the filter on again. But instead of 2 bars, we go for 8 bars. And we will go down in the cutoff here. Something like that is nice, and then you bring a large reverb. So maybe even the largest one I have. You put it directly in the chain, not in the send. Get it to 100%, full diffuse, long decay time. Maybe it's a little bit too long. Let's go for around 16 bars here. You can also make it a bit wider. And that you will export again with Command-Shift-R, and you export it, and then you have an element like I have here. It depends a bit what you want, so maybe you don't want to have all the automations off, maybe you want to add some extra automations. Now I did it directly in the elements of the macro, but as you have seen, I've changed many things. I think a better way is if you do it like this, if you group it, and then you can duplicate it, and that way you're sure that you're not destroying your original pad, and then you make this like pad version, And then you can also put everything into the chain if you want, and that way maybe you have a little bit more CPU usage, so you can kind of like put this then in your library and put it back if you have problems with the CPU. But I think it's a little bit more safe to put the whole chain. So like we would kind of like put this here into both, and this here with the large reverb we would only place in the dedicated pad chain. And you can try a little bit around. I mean, obviously if you want, you could also put the trigger on and kind of like bounce it gated, but I usually like it more if I'm a little bit more flexible to change it like later. But in general, if you do those elements, you don't want to have too many automations. I mean, it should be coming like very sneaking into the scene, and not so that with crazy filter movement and super huge delay and gated and whatever. Sometimes can be nice, but usually you want to have it a little bit more straight, flat, and just like coming there, announcing a bit the flavor of the next block and gluing everything together. And one more thing I wanted to tell you about those kind of elements. It's also really nice if you reverse them. So in Ableton, if you press R, then you will get a reversed version of this. And sometimes you need to check out, because now I think it's selected somewhere here. So if you have that case, then just remove this, consolidate this with Command J. Also notice it has more volume here than here. We will reverse it with R. And as we know that there is more volume here than here, then we will just boost this a little bit. Maybe -6, -4. And now we have the same shot reversed. I accidentally bounced it now with the gated transient effect. That's why it's so stuttering. But I think you get the idea. It can be also really nice if you have some vocals and stuff to, in the next part, if you kind of already bounced them, reversed as atmospheres to introduce them. And it works also pretty good on FMs. On FMs, it's similar to what we did with the bass. You want to have like a very long shot, which is kind of like playing all the time, and then you bounce that and you fade it in like we faded in the bass. If you want to learn more about cool drops and transitions, then you should watch my video on drops. If you want to see more videos like this and get notified on each new video, then hit the subscribe button and the bell icon.